Right, welcome to the Crafty Mariana Podcast. I am your host, Mariana, former corporate marketing girly turned crafting workshop host. And if you ever thought, can my crafts actually make money? Then this is the show for you. Each episode, I share stories from creative entrepreneurs who dare to think a little bit different and went beyond the make and sell model, along with lessons from my own journey building a six-figure workshop business. You can expect honest conversations about what it really takes to build a creative business. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's dive in. Nervous about this. Well, we are officially recording. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Crafty Mariana Podcast. Today we have a special guest. We have with us Dr. Tyler Lemco, who is a former member of the Academy and a creative from Canada, Montreal, correct?
Yep.
And he hosts really awesome art/comedy sessions that I'm always like, every time I see your videos on Instagram, I'm like, I need to go to this. I need to go to Canada and I need to go to these workshops. So I'm very excited to have you on and kind of learn more about what you do and your experience, because I'm sure I always learn so much with these interviews that I'm sure other people will learn. So I'm not a great person at doing introductions, so I'll let you tell us about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. Hi, I'm Dr. Tyler Lemco. I am the purveyor of Dr. Lemco's Creative Club, which up until about a month ago was like an abstract, come to an event at a cafe or bar type situation. But now Dr. Lemco's Creative Club is an actual physical space with walls and a ceiling that you can come to make art and have fun and feel good.
That's so awesome. So when did you open? Did you open last month or this month?
January 4th was our first event. So a little over a month ago. It's the 10th right now.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I would really like to go back a little bit as well. I think you started doing workshops maybe a year ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I started, my first workshop was the last day of June. So 7 months ago.
Oh, wow.
I started this whole Dr. Lemco's Creative Club concept a little over a year ago, but I originally started with content, and I thought I'm going to do videos and I'm going to do live streams and I'll create an online community, and I was really thinking digital. Mm-hmm. And for several months, I put my all into digital content and felt like I was just spinning tires and not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And then, in June, I did my first in-person creative workshop at a cafe nearby. And within 30 seconds was oh yeah, this is it. This is the route. I get it.
Yeah, I totally feel you. I think it's just such online is great, but it doesn't take away from in-person stuff. And if you can use the online to take people offline, I feel like that's where the magic is. Yeah. And so I totally feel you, because I started in person and then went online and thought I would stay with just the online because my online business grew much bigger than my workshops. But then I was like, oh, but I miss my workshops. They're so fun. I need fun in my life.
Yeah, it's literally it's so fun. All the admin work I put in during the week. There's a American football player quote by Ray Lewis that I really enjoy, where in the NFL you play your games on Sundays. So he would say that you pay me for Monday through Saturday. Sundays are free, because that's the point. That's the fun part, that you get to play the game. So I feel the same way with all the sitting on the laptop and writing event descriptions and running social media and all the admin stuff that just is part of the game is also that you can do the fun workshops.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so truly important to say, because I feel especially on social media, it's very easy because everyone puts their best foot forward on social media, right? That's okay and that's normal. But I think it's also easy to glamorize creative fields as this sort of lifestyle, or I don't know, but there's actually a lot of work that it's not art and it's not glamorous that goes behind it, that you have to do to then have the fun creative part, right?
I've genuinely never, as an artist, I've never made less art in my life.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, there was the same with me. Like I used to do tons of crafts and like always have sort of like a course that I was going to just before the pandemic. I was really into pottery. Like I was like, I'm becoming a potter. Like I thought about selling my pottery. I was like, this is awesome. And then the pandemic happened and I didn't have like, access to the pottery club and all those kind of things. So I fell off a little bit, but I always had a little craft. And then I started my workshops and it's like, oh, now this is all work, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I feel like I found some crafts that it's like I'm keeping as like exclusively for fun. I'm like, I'm not allowed to make money with these crafts. These are my fun crafts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, as someone who, like, I've only recently started hosting creative sessions and stuff like this, but I have been like an entertainer and a host for many, many years. And I find it's always kind of been funny to me how like my job in a nutshell, I'm very grateful and I'm very fortunate that my job has been, for the most part, show up and have fun. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to me how often I would complain and how hard of a time I would have just having to show up and have fun, because I find it extremely draining and exhausting to sort of be responsible for the enjoyment of a room full of people. And that's something that I've always struggled with. Even though my job is show up and have fun, I still would get so drained. And I find that that's not the case with this. Like, these events have been so like recharging, and I leave feeling like a buzzing afterwards. There's such like a energizing energy to them that's a bit redundant. But I know exactly what you're talking about, because like when I'm like, if I do too many workshops, then it starts being draining. But I have a sweet spot of like 2 or 3 a month, and if I stay in my sweet spot of like what I enjoy doing, if after every workshop, I'm like, I need to debrief with someone. Like, I need to talk. I need to let the energy flow because I'm buzzing. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I am curious though, and I feel like, I already have so many questions, and I also want to go back to some of the things you said, but I'm curious, what is the difference between, like, because you said you've been a host before, but I'm assuming that it was like in comedy, like comedy related stuff. So not necessarily art like creating art like with your hands. So is that the difference of like, where is you know what I'm asking, like what made is it because it's your invents and not someone else's or your space? Like what do you think is the difference there? I think that everything you mentioned is probably a factor. The biggest of which is, I think in a comedy setting, whether I'm hosting a show or I've hosted a lot of like podcasts and talk show style things. Mm-hmm. And when you're the host, there's almost like a responsibility to keep it entertaining, keep it engaging, keep it on the rails, keep it like moving forward. Whereas I find with these events, the art does most of the heavy lifting. Like you just have to put out some supplies and people are going to have fun. Mm-hmm. And I really thought that I was going to do more hosting. I thought I would have like intro rituals to do and warm-ups. And I had like so many plans for how I was going to host these things. And more, I'm learning each and every time, the more I just put music on and serve some tea and then sit down and be quiet, the better it goes.
Interesting. Because it's especially with having your own space, so much of it is the vibe, know, which is hard to... it's hard to like explain how to like create that vibe. Yeah,
it's an energy in the room. That's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to get the space, was just being a guest at a cafe or a bar. As cool as these are, you're still in someone else's space. There's still usually patrons there who didn't know that this thing was happening. You're still very much like, at least I was bringing my art supplies for 2 or 3 hours and then saying thank you and leaving, versus like here I could really create an energy in the room. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you. I feel like that's ultimately like the dream for a lot of people. And it was also, it's still kind of like a dream of mine. I would love to have a space, but not in this season of life. And I found that when I opened my studio, it was more of like a forced thing. Like I thought I had to open. It was like the obvious next step. Like I'm doing all these workshops. I'm having all this success. This is what I have to do. So I think that I never had that thing of like having the vibe. because even though I was like, yeah, this is the dream, I have pink walls in the studio, it was never really like at my core, I'm dying to go travel. So it was never the thing that I really wanted. So the vibes weren't there.
Right.
And I think that's part of why it didn't go very well.
Do you feel like you never fully like nested there? Like it wasn't fully like a home base?
Yeah, 100%. And then there's other little things like the fact that my landlord was living in the building, like it didn't help.
Right.
So there's there was other things that weren't like, very well planned out or very well
not ideal
managed. But I never got to that because it never felt like, because someone was living there, it never felt like, not that I would go and live there obviously, but it never felt like it was really my space.
Yeah.
That I was always like coming into someone else. So in a very similar way, like going into cafes, which I think, it can work really well, especially to get started. And you can find like partnerships with cafes and restaurants and whatnot, where they already have the vibes and then you're adding your vibe and it all works. But having your own space is definitely like really special. So I'm very excited for you.
Yeah. There is something to having a place you could fart as loud as you want, and there's no one living there to judge, and there's no restaurant to be mad at you. Yeah. It's important.
I think, I mean, it is important to be comfortable. That is totally true. I agree with you. And I think
there's even sorry, on the same subject, like this place is filled with my art. I put art like on every inch of every wall just because I want it to feel really like almost overwhelming with stuff to look at. I like that vibe. Mm-hmm. And quite a lot of my art is like not like too raunchy or anything, but like some silly and kind of dumb themes and all. I have like some dumb art, and I've had quite a few people, either like people buying tickets to come for events and be like a little taken aback by what's on the walls, or I've had people like rent the space from me for their own events, and I come back in and I see like which ones have been taken down and turned around.
They're not dumb. They're probably just provocative. And that's the point of art, right?
Yeah, like I have a painting behind me. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, that one right there is Barney doing the lyrics to WAP.
I see.
Which someone got really upset at recently.
Wow. I love that. I love like when art makes people upset, Yeah. I feel like that's always a good sign.
Yeah, the point is to feel something.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it is the whole point. It's not just to look at. It's like, it's meant to make you feel something. So even if it's like upset and rage and outrage, like that's still good. You're still feeling.
Yeah, not what I was aiming for, but I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're humans, we need to feel like that's how it goes. Awesome. Yeah, we definitely went on a bit of a, I didn't know this was gonna go this way, but we can keep going. Because I was thinking first two things. One, I think I could be wrong about this because it's been a bit hard for me to keep up with like who comes and goes out of the academy. But I think I would risk to say that you are the first person, or at least let's put it this way, the only person I'm aware of that has started off, hosting workshops in other people's spaces and then opening your own space. I think you are the first. Like a former Academy member that have done that. I know that people that join and already have studios and people who join and are, hosting workshops in other places. But from someone that took the leap, I think you are the first, or at least the only one. So I want to talk more about that, of like the process of that and deciding, and then sort of the business side of things and numbers if you want to talk about it. But before we go there, I also wanted to know more about like, who you are and what you do in terms of like before you started hosting workshops, because I think there's always like little clues of like, yeah, of course you're doing this because you've done that. And I think I know some of it because we talked before, but people don't know you. I hope that people who will listen to this episode will like, follow our conversation and it sounds like it's making sense. Because every time I interview people that I've talked with before, I'm always like, is this making sense? Because like, we have the context, but people are listening, but might not. But anyway, do you get what I'm asking? Like, I guess I'm asking like your life story, but in a short period of time.
What's the lore, the background story?
Yeah.
I've been like a content producer and a writer and just like a creative for hire for like 15 years. I got my start doing a YouTube channel, like in the early days of YouTube. Some friends and I had a channel with like, it was at a time, I think in like 2011, 2012, it was like a top 10 YouTube channel.
Wow.
And we were really what's the word? I guess like influential in the modern YouTube landscape of like there wasn't any shows before us. We were the first like YouTube show. So yeah, that's really what started my whole career as like an entertainer and a host. And then my most recent gig after a decade of assorted random fun gigs and projects, before doing this, I was host and producer of a talk show where I interviewed adult creators, aka porn stars.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
That sounds actually quite interesting. So also on YouTube?
No, it was
on a podcast.
It was hosted on the adult site that hired me to produce it. Which when they reached out, I was like super reluctant because in my head I was like, people are going to your website for a very different purpose, and it's not to look at this guy do comedy bits. But lo and behold, we did it for like I think over a little over 2 years. For a year and a half, we were averaging probably 500 people watching live on a weekly basis on a porn site. So that's how powerful comedy can be, I guess.
Wow.
So
that is so interesting.
That brings us to why I'm doing this, because I feel like that went so well, and that was the probably 15th in a row thing that I had been hired to do, home run job at, and then got a thank you, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of grew very tired of doing a good job and never being the owner either compensated or the owner of it or anything. Just like kind of, you did great work, here's a pat on the back, kept happening over and over again. So I figured if I keep succeeding at the things I get hired to do, I'm just going to do it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the logic, is I don't want to find the next gig. I want to build my own thing now, which has been a learning curve, but I'm really enjoying it. I've never been like an entrepreneur before. I've never had to deal with budgets and numbers and to this degree. So there's definitely a lot I'm learning on a daily basis, but it's real cool.
Yeah, two things. I think that first, I mean, I'm just so curious about this adult entertainment interviews, but that's not the point of this. I might be the only one that I'm curious about this because you don't hear about it often. But then the second thing is like, I think you are incorrect. Like, you are an entrepreneur. You don't need like to know about numbers and budgets. Like, that's like a manager's job. An entrepreneur just like makes it happen, starts it, makes it happen, has the vision and solves a problem. And that's like,
I like that.
And you've been doing that for other businesses, and now you're just doing it for yourself. But you don't, I mean, you do need to then understand like numbers and budgeting that kind of like comes with the job. But you were already an entrepreneur, and that's probably why, you know, you were succeeding in these other roles. You were just building for someone else, and now you're building for yourself, which is pretty awesome.
I appreciate that. And yeah, the porn show the talk show I hosted, originally what I pitched to them was me doing arts and crafts with porn stars. We did a couple episodes of that, and then the company was like, well, we did a couple episodes of that. Then I kind of pivoted to doing like comedy improv with them and having these like elaborate scenarios and games we'd play. And maybe like 30 episodes in, the company was like, why don't you just interview them? Maybe just sit down and talk. They have really interesting stories to tell. Why don't you stop trying to do too much, which is kind of my thing.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. But there would be, I could imagine that like the interviews could go like quite crazy and wild and funny because, I mean, just the nature of it.
Yeah. And like what creative people too, like a lot of these, like the way we can move on after, but like the way that industry has changed from like getting hired as an actor or actress to be in a scene to like really being a full-time content creator. You just so happen to like get naked and have sex sometimes. But like, it's really a creative full-time content creator role that a lot of these people are doing on a daily basis, which is like awesome to talk to and learn about. Yeah, I feel like that happened overall with kind of the creative industry a little bit, right? Like even in the arts, you see that, you know, used to have, you know, the galleries and the painters would create the paints, and then the gallery, you know, you would be sold through the galleries and all that. And I feel like nowadays things are getting a bit more like democratized, if that makes sense. So
the creators also end up, or the actors or the painters or whatever their category is, they also end up being content creators to sort of spread their work or create their own kind of brands.
And to be honest, that touches on like a big reason why I started doing this, is because I kind of sat down and thought, like, how can I spend my life being an artist? I didn't go to art school. I don't have like collectors or any client list. I'm not getting in any galleries anytime soon. So my thinking was like, how can I make a life around art that involves being in an art studio, making art every day, that doesn't rely on selling art or making my art the commodity? And I kind of landed on like, if I could bring other people into the experience and sell the experience, I feel so confident that like people will leave the experience feeling like they got the value they paid for.
Yeah, so, no, I totally feel you. I think that that's starting to happen more nowadays, where people are like thinking, you know, what is the life that I want, and then create the work around it in whatever way. Because with the internet, like, you can come up with so many different models, like you don't have to stick with the traditional models of either business or whatever. So I totally feel you.
I've always been this might not be the smartest advice anyone's given on this podcast, but I've always been a big fan of putting the cart ahead of the horse.
Yeah.
And I think that's
great advice. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are like waiting on to feel ready or to be ready, or they need to do this and this and this, and then they do it. And the reality is that like you never feel ready. You never have all the things checked before doing it. So sometimes you just gotta like, you have to just have that willingness and like kind of self-trust to just go and know that you will figure it out, right?
Yeah. Totally. And you can create whatever reality you want to exist in. People don't, I think a lot of people don't realize how in control of that they are.
Yeah. No,
it's funny. I did an interview like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the person asked me like, how, now that this is like a real physical space, they were asking like, how did you manifest that into reality? How did you have the idea for a space and then make it come true and exist in the real world? And I was just like, debt, mostly just debt. That's how. It's pretty much
that is a very honest and good answer. There you go. That's how it is.
Want to do it? You could do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's always so many ways. I understand where people come from when they ask those sort of questions, but I have like a love and hate relationship with like the manifesting sort of philosophy or way of approaching life, because I do kind of like really believe in it, but I don't think that you just like make it out of nowhere. Like, you have to do the steps to get you where you want to go, and so I feel you. Okay, so now you have your own studio. You opened like just a little bit over a month ago. We know what you did in the past. Thank you for coming clean. I'm kidding.
I didn't even tell you about the raunchy stuff. No, I'm kidding.
We'll do another episode for that. We'll stick with arts and crafts today.
Yeah.
But this is definitely like a really I feel like I haven't even looked at the questions that I had.
By the way, for anyone listening, Mariana sent me like, she was like, here's a list of questions if you want to just look over what we could talk about. And it was like 50 questions. And right before we started, I was like, we're not talking about these 50 questions. Sorry to hijack. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, that was a good hijack. I think it was important, important context for people, because I always put some questions down. I feel like, I mean, I don't sit and write these questions from the top of my head, right? Like, obviously I use AI for it. Let's be real. And sometimes I cut some of the questions that, the robots come up with. But I felt like all those questions were really, really great.
They were great. I was just like, this is going to be an 8-hour podcast if we get through all these questions. But it's funny because when I started doing the porn talk show, we'll move on, I promise, after this, but I found that I was writing out like full questions, like word for word, that I wanted to ask. And I would come prepared with like 20 or so questions for an hour-long interview. And very quickly, I started switching that from like 20 written out questions to maybe like a dozen or so single words. and just a reminder of where like directions that I wanted to take or like things that I wanted to bring up. And by episode like 40 or 50, they got so much better once I stopped preparing anything. Yeah. And I would just like, I would look the person up and learn about them and see what they do. And it is,
Okay. That's really good. That's really good advice for me. I feel like that's
you seem very thorough. You're
Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
I just try to like have things prepared. Like I already knew a lot about you, so I wasn't too worried, but I like to have things prepared to kind of like get as much sort of value in learnings as I possibly can from whoever like donates their time to come chat with me. So that's why I was like, let's do all the questions, but we're definitely not going to go over them. But I want to go over. That's okay. You can do that. I think it would be really cool to talk about sort of a bit more in terms of the journey from, so you started in other people's spaces. How many, like, the first sort of questions that I think in my mind is like, how many workshops did you do before you decided to have a space? What was the rationale? I feel like you already kind of answered that, but in terms of like specific of the business itself, what was the rationale of like justifying it, where you want to take it, and then like the finding of the space. Yeah, do you get what I'm kind of asking? Like more of the nitty gritty of like, especially like the business, not just the vision stuff, kind of thing, but the business and the numbers as much as you want to talk about it. But I think that's usually where people, especially for people getting started and they want to do a similar thing, there's so much like unknown there, because sometimes you see people with already studios that have been running for years and it feels like this huge leap that you take. So if you could break it down in some kind of way that makes sense, that would be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with like just what I did and experienced in that like span of time, because like I said, I did my first in-person art event, I think it was like June 29th. So from July, August, September, and October. So in 4 months, I did 10 events at different cafes and bars. They were all pretty fun. I learned a lot from each one. Each one was definitely like a reassurance that this is the right path to be taking and that these can just get better and better. And that I think I'm good at hosting them. B, I think people need them and will enjoy them. And C, I think I could make money doing this. So it seemed like, whatever you call it, like a good, purposeful direction to take. I also realized that so much of my bandwidth was going into like venues and talking to the managers and setting up times and having to coordinate and having to reach out to new places. It was just a lot of management work dealing with different venues. I also found it was difficult to have any sort of like consistency. I want this to be like a club. So when it's random days at random times in random locations, it's tough to really build any sort of cohesive like community to it. And yeah, from a business perspective, I realized like I can't really sustain myself or make enough doing 2 or 3 a month. And from like almost like a competitive perspective, like I kind of approach it like I grew up playing basketball. I'm approaching it kind of like an athlete. I just want to play games. I can't get to where I want to get playing 2 or 3 games a month. I want to be playing 2 to 4 games a week. So I looked all over for places that I could rent, that I could add some like decor of my own, that I could leave my supplies at. I just couldn't find the spot that like worked for me as a recurring rental. So then I pivoted towards like, okay, what if I find a place and build like my own clubhouse type thing? And that was a nightmare in itself also. I think it took 8 weeks of calling every number and every lease sign I saw and every real estate agent in the city. I saw probably 50 units. I had 2 units like locked in, like negotiating leases that fell through because they weren't comfortable with the amount of foot traffic and people coming in and out. So I actually like I literally had business cards made with an address I didn't end up using, so like those go to waste. But yeah, that's how like I thought I was locked in twice and it fell through. After 8 weeks, I eventually posted in like a Facebook group of the borough that I live in and was like, hey, does anyone know of any spaces that I could rent on a recurring basis to do art workshops? I got one reply. It was someone looking for a lease transfer in this very unit, and that was it. I came and saw it, and it was perfect.
Wow. It was just meant to be. It's funny how, like, sometimes you try to chase it. And this is where, like, the manifestation girlies would come for us. But it does happen. Like, sometimes you try to chase it, and you look for it, and it's like no after no, and it doesn't happen. And then you're like, oh, I'm just going to put it there, and maybe something will come out of it. And then, bam, you found the space.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it worked out good.
Yeah, it all came together. But that's sort of the business wise, the thinking was like, if I'm going to operate this like a business that's going to sustain me full time, which full transparency, like I said, I'm 5 weeks into it. It's not profitable yet. It is making money finally, but it's not like in a profitable place. But the thinking was like, I can't get it to where I want it to be doing it that way, unfortunately. Maybe that's possible in other places around the world, in different cities. I felt like what I was doing and the frequency that I was doing it at and the expenses that went into doing it that way just was not sustainable at all.
Yeah.
This feels like I could... I could do public events, I could do private parties, I could do corporate workshops, I could rent it out to people who want to use it for their own thing. There's like so many potential verticals. I could rig it to film content and build it as like a content hub. Yeah, there's like just so many ways I could utilize this.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you. And I think that is such an important thing to kind of be aware of. It's the how to go about it. Like you can totally have a business with just using other people's spaces, but you figure out that for specifically what you want to do in your levels of energy and how you operate, it wasn't sustainable or it didn't make sense to use other people's spaces that much. And you much rather focus on your own space, even though if that meant, not being profitable for a while, or I guess you took some kind of loan to make it happen.
Yeah, and I had some savings that I don't anymore, but yeah. But I also was very intentional about wanting to keep it intimate, because the other route I could have taken was do bigger and bigger events. And that way, like each time you do one, you really like make enough to make it worth it. But I find, at least the way I do it and the events that I run, which are very like social hangouts, like 20 people or less. If there's any more, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah. So I'd rather do 3 10-person ones than 1 30-person one.
Yeah, no, I feel it is a really different experience.
Yeah.
And once you go past the 20, it's still possible. Like the biggest group I've done was 40 people, and it was me and someone else. Also, like, we had a bartender, and then there were 2 facilitators. It was okay. It was also, like a crazy R18 sculpting craft party. So people, they were just there for a good time, and it was wild and fun.
Yeah.
But it's a very different experience to like a small 20 or less group for sure.
Yeah. Because I've done the same. I think my biggest was like 40 something, and it was a lot of me walking around and like stopping and checking in with everyone, as opposed to when I do them here and we're 14 people, I could just sit with them and we're one group. So it's the difference between like one group and kind of sections of groups.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can totally see that. Yeah. When I do big groups, or when I've done big groups, because I'm not doing big groups anymore, there was a lot of that flip-flopping. Like there was always someone needing something, me moving materials around. In that, that's kind of fine. People can still have a good experience in those experiences and scenarios, but but for you as the host, it's way more chilled when it's a smaller group and you can sit down and it creates a different vibe. So I feel you.
I also feel like like a lot of your workshops are showing someone how to make something that they're interested in making, right?
I would say for most part, yes.
Yeah, like you do quite a bit of teaching, or like at least instructing?
There is a little bit, I wouldn't say quite a lot. I would say there's definitely a little bit of instructing with the crafts that I do, with some more than others. And there's usually like instructing at the start for like 10, 15 minutes. And then it's free flowing and everyone is doing their own thing. And I'm floating around helping everyone.
Cool.
And that's the usual 80% of the workshops I do is kind of in that format, depending on the craft. Then there's other workshops like crochet was definitely like, which I don't facilitate them. But I've had like artists that teach it, and it's different. Yeah. That's more teaching based. I don't know if that's
a skill
a good way of explaining it. Yeah.
Because I find so much of what I do is like concept oriented, where like you're not coming to make a specific thing. I'm so fascinated in the interpretations of things. So I'll do events that are specifically like contacting aliens, and your painting is going to be what you want to contact the aliens with, or I'll do paint a funny story or things like that I find really lend itself to a group dynamic of like sharing. Like you really, even if you're strangers, you're going to get to know people because the prompt is going to force them to reveal something.
Yeah, I love that. I saw that one and I thought that was so funny. And I think that's such a cool, unique way of, because you do mostly painting, right?
I do only because it's the simplest to rinse and repeat. And like from a business perspective, I could do one of those every night and it's fine, versus like other things that take procuring the right materials or that require a skill I need to show off. Like, pretty much anyone could pick up acrylic paint and start throwing it on a canvas and feel how fun that is. Yeah,
which makes total sense. And I think that's why like your concepts, because it's such a, I don't want to say basic art and craft, because it's not basic at all. The skill
it's
of
just
painting.
A hangout though. It is genuinely just a hangout.
Exactly. So it's not like, it's just the venue to be creative, and then the experience is in the concept itself, right? And it's in you doing it because you're a funny person, so people will come, and it's actually not about the paint at all. It's about hanging out with you almost.
Kinda. Or at least hanging out together with each other.
Together, with other people.
Yeah.
And you, yeah.
I do very little.
Yeah. Which I wanted to talk more about that. Well, first, I know that you're still kind of early on in your like studio journey, but I wonder if you have already noticed a few things, kind of like lessons of like, ooh, I've done it this way, I wish I've done it differently. Ooh. I know that it's early, and you kind of already mentioned, you've started in other people's spaces, so you've learned that you want your own space. So that's already a learning, but specifically in terms of the space that you just opened, is there any little things that you have noticed so far?
I would say less so the space, more so in the marketing. I launched with I just published 30 events on Eventbrite and was like, here we go. Now I'm launched, and kind of didn't realize no, you need to market and promote and get people invested and excited about this. So that was a big eye opener. And I think the thing that I'm now tweaking to accommodate that is it's if I'm going to be operating, let's call it 15 events a month, there's no world that I can create marketing and promotion for 15 unique different events that are a separate sell to a separate type of person. I was really thinking it I'm going to do the Kermit the Frog paint party, and I'm going to target fans of Kermit the Frog who like making art. And then the next night I'm going to do the hockey night paint party, and I'm going to target hockey fans. I'm quickly realizing that's not a sustainable model. It's not achievable for one person to uniquely market individual things. So I'm now learning how to okay, sell the experience, sell the Dr. Lemco's Creative Club, the unique themes and prompts and titles. That's like picking from a menu. but you're selling the restaurant as a whole, not this one item on the menu. So that's kind of the thing I'm currently wrapping my brain around and figuring out how to do better.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I love that. I think that's kind of where I was at when I opened the studio. I was trying to do that, and then I closed the studio. So I feel like I've never really landed. I mean, I brought in a lot of people to the studio, but it never really like became, I had it for 6 months, so I never really felt like, this is the restaurant with the menu. Yeah. I feel like I'm just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks in terms of like in terms of advertising it as a space, because for selling out the workshops, like I know how to do that, and it feels like kind of second nature to me. So I'm really excited. We need to get you back on the academy, please, so that you can like share your knowledge with the rest of the people.
Would love to.
Yeah, we need to do that. It
is interesting though, like my thinking of like, oh, this is a good one versus like I did like the Guy Fieri paint party, thinking like that'll be so funny. People like it's so meme, like it's so meme adjacent. People are gonna love that. I sold 2 tickets. I had 2 people come here and watch diners, drive-ins, and dives while we painted. And like and then other ones, like I did a collab crochet workshop, and we sold out. Like there was so much demand for it. People were like buying the next ones already. So I'm really learning every day, like what I think is a cool idea is not what people are going to buy tickets to.
Yeah. I could totally see that. Crochet is super, like every time I've done crochet workshops, and I haven't done them that much because I don't do the craft, so I only get people to host them for me. But they're like, I mean, I think it's the younger generation who is just obsessed with crochet, and because they are like, it kind of tickles down to the millennials and people our age. But I think it's just super, super trendy. Like people are loving the yarn fabric based crafts. Like there's this girl I used to look after when she was a little kid. She's like 15 now. And she's like sewing and making her own things. Cool. And I'm like, this was used to be like a grandma hobby. And now like for them, it's cool. Like she's making all these like little tops and little bags, like sewing in her little machine. And I'm like, that's crazy, but also kind of cool that she's into that.
Yeah, it's huge. There's so many things. That's why I called it the Creative Club, because my events, like we were just talking about, are usually paint things. But I think calling it the Creative Club, it could be anything as long as it's creative and fun and engaging. That's why another benefit of having the place is like I could collaborate so much now. Yeah, there's so many people. A friend has a crochet club. Let's do a collab. A friend has jewelry workshops and beads and stuff. Let's do an event here. I could really have like a place that all these people can come teach or run their thing, and I kind of just get to be like the host, the owners, kind of. It's but almost it's like, how talk shows sometimes have like an extra person on the couch that just can chime in whenever they feel like it. That's the best role. That's what I get to do.
That's you. That's awesome. I mean, you've taken the risk of putting, your foot forward in creating the space. So, and that comes with like a lot of risk and uncertainty and all of the scary things about entrepreneurship. So it makes sense that now you get to like be the person on the couch, when you're not doing your own sessions, when it's someone else's like collaboration. So that's
those
super
are my
cool.
favorite.
Do you think, I was going to ask you, like, I don't know how much, I assume you are from Montreal, so you've been there a lot or most of your life. So I don't know how much you know from just living there, or how much research you've done in terms of similar spaces or similar businesses to what you're doing. If it exists, if it doesn't exist, if it does, what do they look like? And how did you find like a way of like, oh, I'm going to do a similar thing to this, but your own way kind of thing?
I think there's quite a lot of people in Montreal that have like cool creative communities and do workshops and all kinds of stuff. In fact, I found out after I signed the lease here, there's someone in this building that does creative workshops.
Oh, wow.
Shout out Soft Studio Days, who does very similar stuff, but it's so different. It's so like, I find everyone has their own unique voice and style, and like, just for example, the person that does creative workshops in this building, it's very slow, it's very calm. Like, this is not calm. My place is chaotic and crazy, and you're going to make a mess here. So I find it's just like the activity can be similar, but the vibe and the experience is going to be unique to who's producing it. And that goes for everyone in the scene here, where there's so many cool people doing cool events. I hosted 2 weeks ago kind of like a gathering of anyone that I could get to show up. We had like 15, 16 people here who each have their own club or community of some kind. And it was really cool, just everyone like meeting and sharing knowledge and tricks of how they operate and stuff. It was like a really cool thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. It feels like you can create like a little home of all the clubs and the creators. That's really, really awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in high tides raises all boats.
Yes. I like that.
I don't think, even if it's the same thing, like, I don't see it as competition. I see it as like just promoting the same message and gospel that we're all trying to do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that this notion of like competition, it was just like putting down from the capitalist world that we live in. And I think that like it can be a good thing in terms of like you look at what people are doing and you think how you can do it differently and put a bit of yourself into what you're doing, and that's how like innovation and different things and diversity happens, right? So I don't think that competition doesn't exist or it's not good. I think it can be a good thing when you are like being true to how you operate and how to like translate into your work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's super cool that you get like to connect with other people that are doing similar things to you, but actually you all have your own different angles to go about it. And at the end of the day, it is kind of really different, even though it looks similar from the outside.
Yeah.
And in the case of that studio, just the case in point, like you have this like chaotic art place, and then right next door there's the calm. So sometimes I want chaotic and fun and messy,
right,
but sometimes I also want the calm. So I'm like, I could be a customer of both, actually. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people will relate to that.
Agreed. And as long as people are buying tickets to come do fun creative things, like, that's a win.
Exactly.
I even told the lady that like runs the amount of creative momentum and energy that we're going to cultivate in these walls. Like, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I can feel your excitement. I'm excited that you're excited. Can you talk us, I don't know how long we've been chatting about. It hasn't been an hour, no, but we're getting close to. I kind of account for an hour. We sometimes go a little bit over. I'm just like mindful of people's times, and then also not making like an episode that people will never finish. But there's a few more little things that I wanted to touch on. The first is you mentioned, I don't know, I feel like I have a good idea of what a Dr. Lemco sort of creative club session feels and looks like, because I've seen your social media, I've heard you talk about it. But I'm not sure if people will understand from the podcast interview. Obviously, they can also go onto your social media and like see it with your own eyes. But I think it would be kind of cool if you walked us through like one of your typical events, whatever the theme it is. How does it actually like flow on the day? Like, what happens? Like, people arrive. You mentioned tea at some point. You mentioned you sitting on the couch. Like, there's all these like little things that you mentioned. But if you could like give us sort of a portray of how it goes, sure, I think that would be really cool. Does that make sense? Sometimes I feel like my questions make no sense.
No, they've all made sense.
Okay, great.
You could even see I recently posted my first like edited workshop video on YouTube. That's like a condensed down version of like just a silly art hang. But yeah, I usually do, if it's a weekday night, I'll do 2.5 hours. If it's a weekend afternoon, I'll do 3 hours, but it's always 2.5 to 3 hours. Another benefit of having the space, though, is that there's no hard out. So there's times where an event will end at 9. Like I did 2 weeks ago, I did like a single mingle thing for singles. Cool. And the event ended at 9 and everyone put their coats on and had a good time and left. And there was 2 people that really hit it off and they stayed chatting. So I didn't want to rush them. And I literally putzed around and like cleaned things up in the kitchen for like 90 minutes waiting for them.
Whoa.
I was very happy to. Yeah. So all that to say, usually people come in once it's like full enough. I'll do like a little spiel of welcoming people, explaining how this works. I'll show them that like over there we have the supplies table, use whatever you want. Here's a little, maybe like little guidance on like how to get started or drawing a sketch or something. And then I'll usually break into like 5-10 minutes in, I'll break into like asking people about their ideas and who wants tea. And then I'll start walking around serving tea and we'll be chatting about ideas and I'm thinking of doing this and I'm not sure how to capture this concept. And it sort of turns into like just talking ideas pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And usually in like a pretty group social setting. So like, I like that it's a small intimate space I'm set up usually for 14. I could go up to 20, but I like keeping it at 14. So that's like a good group size. Mm-hmm. And then there's always, my favorite part of doing the workshops is whether it's 30 minutes, 90 minutes, like there's always a certain point where it gets quiet. I always have music playing. I like listening to music that doesn't have any. Either it's instrumental or it's in a language I don't know.
Okay.
I find if it's English music, it's too distracting, and I need to be like, I need to just feel it. So I always have music playing, and yeah, at a certain point, it always gets silent, and there's just music, and that's my favorite because like people are now zoned in. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yeah, after 2.5, 3 hours, we'll usually do like some kind of an optional show and tell, where you can show us what you made and explain it a little bit. And that usually leads into like funny group discussions and that goes on tangents and you never know where those things go. But yeah, it's a very loose, very relaxed hangout for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, I thought I was going to do a lot more hosting. I had segments planned and ideas for games we could play and recurring bits that I would do and warm-ups and stuff. Like I said, the less I do, I think the better the results are. People, like it's the response so far has been overwhelmingly positive. Everyone's had like a really fun time. I've had a lot of, even in the 5 weeks I've been open, I've had a lot of repeat people.
That's awesome.
I've had one guy came 4 times already.
Wow.
So that's like a really reassuring and nice thing that like people are coming back a lot. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think if I just hang out and talk to people, that usually is all I have to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I could totally see how the less, especially with paint, like the less you do, the more so like free people feel to create and to like really zone out and chill and mess up. So I could see how that works.
Yeah, I think that's it. Is I'm not teaching anything and I'm not instructing anything. But I think I am good at creating a space where like art and fun are going to be inevitable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, like, because like I've been working on like relaunching my workshops in Europe. So I've been thinking a lot about like the brand itself and the vision and the mission. And this is something that I feel very kind of strong about, the fact of like art. For such a long time, art has been like gate kept in a lot of ways. And people, like if you are not good at it when you're a kid, or if it's not nurtured into you, let's say when you're a kid, then you kind of get told, oh, you're not creative or you're not an artist. But the reality is that everyone is creative, like, because that's just the nature of human beings. Yeah. And I feel like people like you in all the people that are like hosting workshops, like I'm doing such important work to like democratize making art. I think that is so important, and people are craving it, and that's probably why these kind of workshop and art businesses that gather people have been kind of a bit of a trend in the last few years.
Yeah, because if anyone comes here and says I'm not creative, I'll straight up beat them up. I'll just beat them up.
It'll just be like, nope, you are creative.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, actually? I've had probably 3 or 4 ticket buyer guests show up and tell me that they went to art school and haven't touched anything since school because art school like beats it out of them.
Yeah.
I've had not just one, not just two, multiple people tell me that they haven't made art since art school.
Yes.
And I kind of, every time I'm like, thank God I didn't go to art school.
Yeah, same. I mean, I did music school as in like outside of normal school. I went to like music lessons and music school. And yeah, it got beaten out of me. I used to really love playing, like, singing around and playing around, and then it got beaten out of me, and then I ended up going to business school.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't like go the arts or music route, because that's something always you can go back to, and I've learned all the skills now that, I can use. But that's really interesting, and I'm not surprised at all, because even people like so very few people that go to art school actually then have art careers, right?
Yeah. And it's also astonishing, like, the amount of people that are actually artistically talented, like even people that think they aren't. Mm-hmm. It's been a like comedically tough pill to swallow that I'm actually like technically worse at art than 95% of the people that come to my art workshops.
That is pretty funny. I mean, I think you just have the techniques can be learned, right? So I guess there's that. But then there's also so much of it that it's like your own sort of sense of aesthetic and taste that you kind of use to express yourself, right? So
sure.
I don't think that there's like good art and bad art. I think that's the thing that art school makes us believe, that there's some kind of like standard of like, you see the Picasso, that's the good one. But like, if you actually look at some of the Picassos, it's like, how the fuck? I mean, I get it, the context of the importance and blah, blah, blah. But actually, like, that's just some drawings on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Bullshit.
Yeah. He just happened to be born in the right time, and he made something a little bit different than the ones before. And therefore, he became Picasso. And then it's a brand. And then, it's old enough that... Anyway, I'm rambling now, but
no, it is just, it's always a little humbling when people come in here on a consistent basis, and I'm always like, wow, I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens at my workshops as well, like a lot. Sometimes people come, especially with like sculpting and polymer clay, like I can sculpt and I can do a lot of things, and I'm usually happy with the things that I do. But sometimes someone will come to the workshop and make like this tiny little, like I remember this girl that made these cookie earrings. So they're like cookies, but they were like these tiny little cookies, and she was like, I mean, they were so cookie-like. I was so impressed with these cookie earrings, and I was like, I could never make these cookie earrings. Like, I mean, I love creating stuff, but it was just so meticulous and like detail-oriented, and I was like, wow, this girl, like, I mean, no, congrats to her, but I cannot do that.
It's an unexpectedly nice part of this whole thing is how often I'm humbled like that. Yeah.
It's I think that's important. I think that's important to have, a part of your job that it's a little bit humbling.
Agreed.
So
agreed.
I think that's good. All right. I think I feel like we could keep talking, but, need to kind of keep it contained, maybe bring you for maybe like in 6 months or a year time, bring you for like part 2 of like how the studio is going when you have like, a line outside the door. Hopefully you'll still have time to come and chat on the podcast. But I wanted to wrap it up. What did I wanted to do? What did I wanted to ask? There was something about...
Did you want like numbers and stuff? I don't mind if you want to jump into that.
Yes. No, it was that. And it was also because you mentioned you do like the clubs, the public, workshops. You mentioned setting up 30 on Eventbrite and doing privates. If you could like run us through like a tip, I know that's probably not a typical month, but what does a usual, and also you've just started, so you have like 1 month of record, but any sort of ideal or plan that you have for the future, what is like in terms of a month, how many public workshops, how does that translate into, revenue? And then because you have the different revenue streams, how are you, like, what is the bigger thing? Is it the public, the corporates, the collaborations? Yeah. Do you get what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So to start, I'm focused on public ticketed events. That's like the primary focus right now, where I'm doing like 2 to 4 a week. If I could call it like a dozen plus a month, that would be ideal. If I can then start sprinkling in 1 or 2 private rentals, 1 or 2 corporate workshops, 1 or 2 private parties, then it really starts to like turn into a real business. I think I can pay my bills so I crunched the numbers. If I'm selling 10 tickets an event and doing 3 a week, then I'm covering all my bills and I'm making enough. Once I could start adding in those other verticals like private parties and corporate workshops, then I could really start turning it into like a business. But yes, I think my ideal month would be about a dozen public ticketed events plus some private things sprinkled in throughout. I also think like I'm really high on the content side of things also. That's a ways away, but I do think long run, 5 years from now, this business is like 50% or more a content business. Yeah, I think I'm just starting with getting the events running.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And when you say a dozen of the public events, you mean like of you running them or also the collaborations?
Yeah, maybe like half or less collaborations. If I don't have any collaborations, I'm fine doing them myself. It's not like there's much heavy lifting to do. What I like about collaborations is I can kind of be like an attendee and a student. I like that I get to learn how to crochet or how to do a bead necklace or whatever. Like, I selfishly enjoy those more because I'm a part of it. But I'm also splitting profits on those. So I need to be like careful about how many I do. But yeah, those are always super fun.
Yeah. So it doesn't take away from your main ones.
But I could even give you like specifics if you want, because I'm a month in, so it's not like there's much to report. But I did just do my like 1 month budget kind of update.
Yeah. I want as many specifics as you want to give us.
So month 1, I made, I think, just about $1,000, which is better than I thought I would do in my first month.
Okay.
My expenses were like just over 3,000, so not ideal, but that number only gets smaller and the other number only gets bigger. Obviously, there's no way to like project who's going to buy tickets to what, but I do think I do think that the income will be more than the outcome by month like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Which feels like, yeah, that's my projection. Even it might even be this month. I'm not sure. It depends on how many like extra things I could lock in. I already had my first private rental. I have my first private party coming up next weekend. So those things without any effort or any pushing have just naturally started.
That's a really good sign on like basically month 1.
Yeah, definitely having like a lease with a monthly rent is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much approaching it like step 1, cover the rent. Yeah. Step 2, maybe cover my rent at home. Step 3, like then my bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think made 1,000, spent 3,000, better than I thought it would be, to be honest. Yeah. Where are your do you know where most of your bookings are coming from in terms of like your advertising? And then question number 1, question number 2, are you doing much advertising or is just mostly like organic content? I was doing paid ads for a while and found like it really wasn't doing much for me. And that when I make a like engaging or funny video, that lands 100 times better and sells tickets 100 times more than like boosting things, especially when it comes to Eventbrite boosting. I spent probably $200, didn't sell a single ticket, didn't see any results from that. With like meta ads, I'll sometimes boost like I was saying before, if it's a specific event that I want to target a specific audience, I'll sometimes boost a specific post. I had like some evergreen ads running that I turned off after like a week. I found like either I'm not there yet or I don't know what, but it just wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
It also just felt like so daunting, the whole Meta Business Suite and learning about like pixels and stuff. Like that was just Chinese to me.
Yeah, I feel you. That's interesting. I've never I've never used Eventbrite like advertising. I know that they can like do advertising within, but I've never used it, so I don't know. And I've never heard of anyone like succeeding with it.
Yeah, they would send me reports like 4,000 people saw this listing, and it's like, okay, great, no one bought a ticket.
Yeah. That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
With the videos, I mean, you know, talking about your ads could be a totally different separate chat, in which I'm happy to help. But one of the things that you've just mentioned about making like a super funny video and then having a really good response and getting tickets sold from it. Usually, like if you know that the ticket sales are coming from that specific post, which can be a little bit tricky to know for sure, right? Because you don't have like that specific tracking. But if you have a good feeling of like, I made this post about this thing and I sold a bunch of tickets, usually like using that post as an ad, it works really well, because if it's already like validated organically, then you just put money behind it to target, you know, more people like the ones that already follow you. And that's usually a really good way. And you're already good with content. So that's and to make videos, because I found that, for example, for my workshops, I'm not good with videos. So for me, I can't really, all the ads that I do are like graphic static ads. And I know that those perform really well. Video ads can work, but you have to be good at making the videos. Like if you don't have those videography skills, don't run video ads, because they will not convert. Like,
right.
I think it's like the attention span of people. Like there is some kind of art and skill to creating good videos, and you have that, so you can use your advantage and use these like videos that you think are making a difference for an ad. Like on Meta ads, you can choose them as like an ad that is based off an existing post, if that makes sense.
But the problem that I have, which I kind of touched on earlier, is that right now, everything I've produced marketing-wise is for a specific thing that I don't repeat. Everything's a unique event and a one-off. So there's like, whether a thing goes well or it doesn't go well, it's over.
Okay.
So now I'm learning how to have like rechargeable, like reusable things.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of love and hate that strategy, because love it, everything is a one-off. It makes people want to come. It's like, this is going to happen once, guys. You're going to paint Kermit the Frog or whatever it is once, and then if you don't come, we never paint it again. So I love that as like, you know, the concept in how it ties in what you're doing. The thing I don't love about it is like, then if you don't repeat anything, then you're always reinventing the wheels. You never create systems for anything. You can't remove yourself from it, which, mind you might want to remove yourself, and that's totally fine. But I think that's where I kind of like struggled in the past of like, if I want to grow it and do more of it to live off it, I need to do a certain amount of number of workshops, which I know are not sustainable for me. So I need to hire. And then if I need to hire, I need systems. And then that's where it like, you know.
That's it, is I need a rinse and repeat formula that the toppings can be changed each time. But that's kind of what I was saying before, is rather than market the Kermit the Frog paint party, I need to be marketing like, come hang out at a social fun paint party. This week's is Kermit the Frog. Next week's is Taylor Swift or whatever. Like, that's the content. You can do it. Yeah. It's a reframing of how I do ads, though. That I'm in the midst of.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And you can totally do it. And I can send you some like examples of, I mean, I have some European examples because I've been doing a lot of research of what exists in Europe. So I can send you some like, you know, businesses and companies that are doing a very similar thing to what you're doing, though I would say that they're less personal, if that makes sense. But yeah, I can send you some examples of how they're doing it, because you can do it very similar.
Yeah. And I am learning from the findings of like, oh, if something sells out, I'll do another one. And then I do have videos for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
like the crochet one sold out. So I booked 2 more crochet ones.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you will, it's also, so, you know, you've been doing it for a month. So, you know, you can use the first like 3 or even 6 months to test and do a lot of different stuff. And then it's through doing the different stuff that you figure out what are the things that sell and not sell.
Exactly. I even, when I launched, thought I would have like two branches to it. I thought that there would be have fun stuff, which is like more low pressure, like social paint parties. Mm-hmm. And then I thought that there would be like equal parts like creative wellnessy stuff, like feel good events that are about like more wellness. And I realized like you can't market two things also. It's one thing. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but then you're splitting sort of the focus and attention, especially if you're on a tight budget. You don't want to do that. Like you want to, and they correlate. They're the same. They're different, but the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The tightest budget of all is my bandwidth too. Just like what I can produce as a person.
Yeah. I feel you. Oh, awesome. Wow. Yeah, I really enjoyed. I mean, I knew I was going to enjoy. I mean, I always enjoy all the interviews, to be fair. But I feel like we went so rogue from the questions. I had an eye on it, and I think you naturally covered a lot of the things that were in the questions. I don't know if is there anything else that you feel like we haven't covered and you would like to talk about? And if so, we'll talk about it. If not, we might do like a wrap up. What do you?
I would say, let's, we've been going in a little over an hour. Let's save it for the next one. We can really dive into that porn talk show next time.
Yes, I want to hear more about this because it sounds like hilarious. And it's an interesting, it's an industry that I also have like a lot of complicated feelings about.
I feel you.
When that is the case, usually it's like, okay, this is a sign to dig deeper. Like, why are these feelings there? What I like, what is happening here? Anyway, I agree with you. We can definitely do another episode about that. And I just wanted to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Also, thank you so much for being, a former member of the Academy. I feel like I want to do like an alumni sort of. Well, I want to bring people back into the Academy to stay forever. But I don't know what that's gonna, because, I don't know if it existed when you were in the Academy, but at some point I created the lifetime like upgrade thing on month 8. So people who stay for 8 months, they can then upgrade to stay lifetime. And now that I'm like restructuring a few things, I want people to stay forever, basically. So how do I make that a possibility for the most amount of people while still like valuing? Anyway, I'm thinking out loud here. This is not related with all this to say that I want you back in the Academy. I'm going to find a way. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope that people understand and like track everything we said and found value in it, like I'm sure did. So that's the main thing. And yeah, thank you so much, Tyler.
And if you have a fun, creative idea, go do it.
Yes, advice for the people. Yeah. Just like, I feel so torn with like this, just do it advice, because it's always like, it is what it is. Like, you just have to go and do it. But there's so like much mindset of like why people don't do it that.
Oh yeah. And doing it is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do it anyway.
But you have to do it anyway. You have to do the
That's the thing. Like, whenever I talk about doing this project, I probably could have found another gig or another client of some kind or the next project to work on. But like, what else am I going to do? If I'm not going to do the thing that I'm going to enjoy and that's going to like bring purpose and fulfillment to my life that hopefully makes money one day, what am I doing it for?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I can totally relate with it. I think you get to, I think when you're young, I mean, we are still young, right? We're in our 30s, but I think when you're younger than us, it feels very easy to fall into the trap of like the things that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And
then you get to a point where it's like, no, but what do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's not even with age. Yeah, it's actually not. I think it happens more for younger people, but actually, like when I think of the Academy members, I don't think it's just an age thing. It's like a societal, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I agree with you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone. If anyone has listened to all the way until the end now, so thank you for being here. And we will bring Tyler back at some point to talk about other interesting, exciting stuff. Yeah, thank you so much, Tyler.
Thank you. Stay tuned for the updates.
Bye, guys.